We'll now move to item 9A, continued public hearing, zone text amendment number 19-15. The applicant, the City of Carson, the request to consider adoption of a comprehensive update of the city's oil and gas ordinance regulating petroleum operations and facilities. Please
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good evening. Luis Perez, Project Manager with MRS. With me is also Greg Chittick, who's a Senior Engineer with our company. Obviously, this item has been before you since February of this year. I think this is our 8th hearing. Now, one of the things that we wanted to briefly talk about is that there are some ramifications as we look through the ordinance when you instituted a setback that was 1,000 feet rather than the recommendation from staff, which was 500 feet, as you would recall. And one of the things that we had done at the request of the city was to conduct some noise studies to try to determine what the existing noise parameters were within the city for the existing facilities, to try to ascertain whether there were some out of the ordinary issues going on with the existing noise from the existing facilities. At times it was very quiet. We found that with the mitigation measures that would be imposed as part of the oil code, that the 500-foot setback can be supported through the measurements that we took. So I think it's important for you all to know that. In addition, we wanted to point out that as you move into the incentive program, the 1,000-foot setback would actually remove about 1,200 more acres from the incentive program, and it leaves fewer locations for the oil companies to move from.
The current operators are not required to have a 1,000-foot setback. They're allowed to operate as they are currently. If we do a couple of things like a trade, that means they get to increase the drilling in other areas closer to residential. If we set a 500-foot setback, then they could drill next to a resident 500 feet away. Quite frankly, I don't want drilling 500 feet from my house. That's too close. You know, I think that's, and I know the city of LA is looking at 1,500 feet. So if they go ahead and do that, I think we should need to revisit this and increase the setback to what the city of LA is willing to do.
I'm a longtime resident of Carson. I moved here in the 60s with my parents. All I want to say is 1,500 square feet. We got it down to 1,000, and they're not happy with that. Most of them don't live here. I'm a resident. I live here. I care about my health. I already got health issues. And I want to please beg all of you, bring it back to 1,500 square feet.
Now, I've heard that some of the setbacks in some of the other cities are, say, 300 square feet, 500 square feet. But I didn't hear anyone mention the fact that Beverly Hills has a 1,500 square feet setback in their ordinance. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that I'm just as good as any resident who lives in Beverly Hills. We may not have the wealth that city has, but we certainly have citizens who should be given the same opportunity to live in a healthful environment like this city did when they put their ordinance together.
I understand what you're doing, staff. You made it quite clear in the last meeting you wanted 500 feet. That was your recommendation. This commission rejected that. Why are we back here?
30 seconds.
Thank you. Why are we back here? Respect what they've already done. But if I was sitting up there, I'd send you another message because I'd say 1,500.
So the last thing that I disagreed with on the last planning commission is the 2-for-1 setback. So again, this is what Beverly Hills did, which Carson went in sort of a totally opposite direction. Instead of phasing out the wells within the setback, which is what they did to protect their residents, we're increasing the amount of drilling happening in Carson just 1,000 feet away. And really it should be 1,500 feet away. To me, that's just so bizarre. Why would we increase the level of activity just because we don't see it? Doesn't mean it's not emitting pollutants. Doesn't mean it's not going to cause us health problems in the short term, medium, and long term. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not a problem.
I make a motion that we approve the oil code with a 1,000-foot setback and the provisions allowing the city manager to designate someone to represent him and not require the city manager to go on site, but has the ability to hire a petroleum engineer or whatever qualified person that he feels necessary.
I think that we have discussed this. We have gone through this for months. It's time that we send this to the city council. And I will be honest with you, after I got my staff report, I was ready to say, let's go for 1,500 feet. Amen. We'll go for the 1,000 feet and leave it up to the city council, but I second Commissioner
Matoma? There are no other further questions. Madam Secretary, roll call for the vote.
Commissioner Fayasongo?
Yes.
Commissioner Guidry? Yes. Commissioner Matoma?
Yes.
Commissioner Newcomb? Commissioner Palmer?
Yes.
Commissioner Post?
Yes.
Vice Chair Madrigal?
No.
Chairman Diaz?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
The Government's Sunshine Project is brought to you by Charles Thomas for Carson City Council 2020. I'm Charles Thomas, and I approve of this message.